Well, good day. The blue oval's looking a little faded today. We have here now a 2006 F250, I believe it's a 250, yes. Stupid duty with a 6-liter Power Stroke V8 diesel. And it's here for a couple of problems. I just drove it in. Check engine light is on. A message on the dash says TBC fault. And I noticed when I started it, it ran rough and blew white smoke, like one or more glow plugs didn't work. So we're going to put a scanner on it and do a network scan and see what's going on. There's also a headlight problem on the right side. So we'll do a network code scan, see if we can auto ID this vehicle. TBC, is that throttle body? Come on, you can do it. Oh, 347,000 kilometers. Okay, cool. Code scan. Free scan. I gotta do it not running. Okay, so Ford wants you to do this scan. Key on, engine off. I've got a battery charger on it. Crankshaft position sensor fault, insufficient EGR flow, EGR performance, vehicle speed sensor, fan speed sensor, low fuel level, EGR position sensor, lost memory with the ECM. Oh joy. ABS CAN communication bus fault, ignition key and circuit fault. That could be from a remote car starter. High battery voltage at module. Well, it shouldn't be. I got it set at 13.5. Transfer case two-wheel drive solenoid circuit fault. Transfer case differential lockup solenoid. Well, which one is causing the TBC message on the dash? And how many of these are current and versus history? Let's, now that we've got a recording of this, I'm going to switch the key off. Let's do a clear all codes. Six modules only: engine, tranny, ABS, airbag, instrument cluster, and gem. Okay, so I'm going to start it and see what comes back. So I went to turn the key off and I noticed as I was looking at the dash and it said TBC fault right here, you can see that the instrument cluster has died. Got no tack. Huh. Oh, it just came back. It's like when I touch the key. Check engine lights back on. It was almost, I touched the key and the light and the dash went dead. But I didn't turn it off. I just touched it, and I just touched it a second time, and I went to shut it off, and the dash came back to life. Like maybe there's a problem with the ignition switch. Oh my goodness sakes! Can't we have anything simple? Let's do another network code scan and see what codes have returned. So we're doing another network code scan. I think that TBC has something to do with EGR. Like throttle body, but it doesn't have a throttle body. EGR performance. ABS CAN communication bus. Well, if we got a oh, there we go. In the instrument cluster, we have an ABS CAN communication bus fault. Well, that could probably result in ignition key and circuit fault. I think that might have to do with ignition. Usually you get that code when they have an aftermarket car starter built. transfer case switches, EGR code. Alright, well, let's have a look at this P0404 code. So the system appears to use a linear or motorized EGR with a position sensor in it, and this EGR code sets when the position sensor is out of range. So, pinpoint tests, carry out a visual inspection. I looked at the wiring and to see if there was any rodent damage to the wires. Everything looks okay, although I did see some evidence of mice in there. Combination before proceeding with this point. Carry out a visual inspection, record any DTCs, freeze frame data, carry out self-test. W2. Possible cause, aftermarket accessories. No, this is bone stock as far as I can tell. I don't think it's been tuned and not deleted. Air filter, exhaust system, intake system, performance chips, turbocharger. Possible cause of restricted airflow. I thought it was out of range. EGR valve stuck. Yes, I could see that. Restricted EGR, position sensor bias. Let's go back into the data here. Let's go back and look at some data in the engine control module. In the engine control module, data display, let's see what the EGR data shows right now. Continue. I guess that would be under emissions. EGR fault, no. EGR duty cycle, it wouldn't be on right now. EGR desired position 0. EGR valve position 1.44. That seems high. From what I remember, it's supposed to be 0.7 to 0.8. So it seems like it's stuck. Well, in here it basically asks you if there's any other fault codes to diagnose those first, and then it tells you to do an EGR system self-test. EGR test. Let's see if we can actually do that. I'm saying it's out of range or stuck right now, personally. So let's see. Functional tests, EGR duty cycle. Should load a data list. So there's data. I don't know if we have to have it running. EGR fault, no. EGR DTC, where's EGR voltage? There we go. Well, I would have expected to see this moving, and I don't. 20, 25, 30, 35, and it's not moving. So we're going to say it doesn't pass. Let's have a look at it. So I plugged in another previously enjoyed EGR valve, cleared the code, and now we have 0.84 volts on the EGR valve. I'm going to try that functional test now and see if it works. EGR duty cycle, EGR voltage. I wonder if it has to be running. That's not responding. Duty cycle's increasing, but the EGR valve is not moving. Well, now it is. I had to go to 40–50%. It only allows it to go 45%. Can't go higher than that. Well, the easiest thing to do is to do a running self-test with the EGR valve plugged in, the used one plugged in, and see what happens. Key on, engine off, electrical self-test. Let's try that. I don't know if it'll do it if it'll test the EGR during the key on engine off self-test. Might set a fault code for the AC because the AC may be on. You can hear it testing all the solenoids and injectors. I tried to remove it. I took the 2 bolts out, but it's stuck in there. I guess these O-rings stick. Figure you should be able to turn it by looking at it, twist it and pull it up. Well, that's a good sign. No code system passed. So let's see if we can get that valve out and install this used one. Gee, I had some difficulty pulling it out. I wonder if that carbon in there is causing an issue. Wow. I'm gonna try and vacuum that out, but I don't know what the proper procedure is for cleaning that. Probably have to pull that intake off to clean it properly. So I vacuumed the carbon out of the intake manifold as best I could, and I cleared the codes. We're going to do another key on engine off self-test with the good used EGR valve installed. I'm sure it's going to pass because it passed when the EGR valve was just plugged in externally. That's a good sign. I'm going to start it up and do a running self-test. Well, the TBC fault message is still on the instrument cluster. I'm wondering if that has something to do with the communication problem. Got to step on the brake and turn the steering. So the instrument cluster went dead while I was cycling the four-wheel drive switch. So I'm sure there's a network issue. We still got a 404 EGR performance code. Wonder if there's loose carbon in there that's plugging it up. So I cleared the EGR code and I rerunning the self-test. See, the instrument cluster came back online. Huh, that's interesting. Now I'm running the EGR duty cycle test while it's running. I'm getting up to about 3 volts at 45%. I can't go any higher than 45% duty cycle. And the exhaust back pressure is not changing, so I wonder if the exhaust back pressure sensor line is plugged up. That might be how it determines EGR flow, is by that exhaust back pressure sensor. Don't hear much change in the way it runs either with the EGR being commanded on, but I can't remember the last time I did this. Right now I don't think there'll be any memory codes because it hasn't run a test. But if I go for a road test or do a key on engine running test, it commands the EGR on, but it doesn't tell me what it's doing. Let's see what that 404 code suggests now. So it doesn't really say exactly how the EGR valve is monitored. But if you go to the troubleshooting chart for the P0404 or 1408, it tells you if you have the 404 or 1408 alone or in combination, go to W2. Inspect for restricted airflow, charge air cooler, system leaks, EGR valve stuck. Well, it was certainly stuck. EGR valve O-rings, restricted EGR cooler. Well, with all that carbon in there, I'm sure it is. EGR valve position sensor bias, exhaust pressure sensor bias, and MAP sensor and MAF sensor contamination. Are any of other DTCs present? No. Go to W3. Carry out the EGR test, which I did. Did the EGR system test, pass all tests? Well, I'm not sure if Ford IDS does a slightly different test, because there's no pass-fail. It's up to the technician on the Snap-on scan tool to determine whether it passed or failed. Yeah. I'm going to fire up IDS. Okay, we got IDS booted up and ID'd the vehicle. I don't need to make a work order. Let's see, self-test. Powertrain, engine, key on engine running, and it's going to tell me to start the engine. The vehicle's not moving. Transmission, vehicles, parking brake is on. Yeah, of course. Okay. Surprised it didn't. Okay, do not depress the throttle. Start the engine. All right, let's continue. Press the brake and speed control. Okay, so I did all the stuff it's asked me to do. Let's see if we get to 404-1408. 404-1408 and 1780. What's that? Transmission control overdrive cancel. Well, I didn't press that switch. Okay, we're going to disregard that one. So we have the 404 EGR valve assembly, block hoses, filters, valves, faulty or damaged PCM, and 1408. Plugged or stuck EGR valve, EGR flow path restricted. Plugged or open EGR vacuum regulator, DPFE. Well, it doesn't have that. Open or shorted EGR vacuum regulator solenoid. It's a linear solenoid. Okay. Let's see about the EGR flow test. Where is it? Power balance, fuel economy, air management. EGR system test. Let's see if this system test is different than the one on the Snap-on scan tool. Oh, it's got a nice picture of an EGR valve. For accurate test results, make sure the engine temperature is greater than 85 Celsius. Engine oil temperature. So it's not going to let the test perform until we get to 85 Celsius. So I'm going to run it for a few minutes. So while it was warming up, I noticed it seemed like it was misfiring. So I'm doing a power balance test. And it kind of shows that number 3 is not contributing as much. Maybe we'll let it run till it's up to operating temperature. And do a relative compression test. Let's see if that recurs. Remember the miss when I started it cold? This has the California emission glow plug system, so if it had a failed glow plug, it should set a fault code for it. I'm going to try a relative compression test just to get a base idea what the engine's like here. And this is with IDS, not with a... Okay, what kind of error message is that? Unexpected RPM change during crank. Let's try it again. Listen to the cadence of the engine too. Well, that sucks. Why is it seeing that? It won't perform a relative compression test. It says unexpected RPM change during crank. Well, that's what we're looking for, is unexpected RPM changes. I'll try it one more time. Well, it sounded like it was cranking even. So cylinder 4 and cylinder 5's 1% less. Well, that's a good thing. So we might have an injector issue in the cylinder 3 causing the stumble, but we don't have a serious mechanical problem with the engine. This is based on crankshaft RPM fluctuations during 10 seconds of cranking, not engine or not alternate or starter current draw like we do with a amp clamp on a graphing multimeter. I'm going to retry this EGR flow test as soon as we get up to 85 Celsius. Okay, so we're finally above 85 Celsius. It wants the key on, engine off. Ensure all cables are connected, key on, engine off. Continue. Checking EGR valve voltage. Select the tick to continue. Pressure pins check pass, check the tick to continue. Engine oil pressure, so now it's commanding the EGR on. You see 19, 20, 20, 25, 29, 30. But this is an automated test, so it's going to give us test results at the end, not leave it up to the technician to decipher what happened. Here's the position. There's the actual voltage. See, it went all the way to 79, 80%. And the Snap-on scanner went to 45% and stopped. So I'm sure the valve is working fine, and the problem is the manifold and the cooler is probably coked up with carbon deposits. So now it's trying it again. That's interesting. I wondered how it said run the test, did it all pass? Well, I ran the test with the Snap-on scan tool. There is no pass-fail. It's up to me. I'm sure this portion of the test is going to pass. It's probably going to have me start it in a few seconds and qualify whether there's actual EGR flow when it's commanding the EGR on, and I think that's where we're going to fail. So it says EGR valve response passed, click the tick to continue. Start the engine and allow it to idle. So what's it looking at? Exhaust back pressure. Waiting for the engine to stabilize. EGR valve position sensor voltage is 0.9. 1 of 6. I guess if everything's green, it's good to go. Checking response of EGR system during test condition 3. So let's watch this. That's 4. Pass. That's 5 pass. Well, according to that, it passed all the tests. Well, now my problem is I may not have had the engine up to proper operating temperature when I did the engine running self-test with the Snap-on scan tool. So let's try that. Self-test, engine running, powertrain, engine, Freon engine running, self-test. Because no, I did it before, but it let me do it. Interesting to see what happens after this now. This time I hit the overdrive cancel button. Well, we got the 404-1408. Yeah, it passes the EGR test. Come on, Ford, tell me what to do. I think I'm going to take it for a road test and see what happens after I fix the headlight. So I decided I'd check to see if there's any network codes, communication codes. I've got to figure out what's causing that TBC message in the instrument cluster. 1876, that's U1900 in the instrument cluster. Communication bus fault. ignition key circuit fault. Battery voltage too high. Well, it's a good thing this is manual locking hubs on it, because I don't want to fix those vacuum hub lock circuits. Now let's check the headlight. So TBC is trailer brake control. And we had no communication with the trailer brake control module. I just ignored it like the scan tool did as well. So chances are it has a problem with the trailer brake control system. That's what this suggests here, this case history and identifix. Instrument cluster displays TBC fault. Self-test of the trailer brake control module results in code B1342. Well, I got no communication with the trailer brake control module, so I guess we could check the fuses for that and see if that's relevant. So the trailer brake control module fuse is a 15 amp fuse F220. I'm going to write that down. F220. And where is that? F220. 19. Well, right in the middle of the relays. Okay, we're going to check that. So there are actually 3 fuses that supply this trailer brake control module, and they're all in the central junction box. There's F2101, F220, and F228. Oh, my pen just died. So these 3 fuses are good. This F2101 is a 30 amp J fuse, so I had to pop the cover off of it to test it. The other 2 fuses are good, so there's a good possibility we have a network problem because it's high-speed CAN, and we did have a fault code related to network. Where was it? Yeah, there was a fault code related to U1900-60. Well, I'm going to leave this for that. Now I fixed the headlight. It turned out to be, I thought it was going to blossom into something more elaborate because it has a plow and a aftermarket harness for plow lights versus factory headlights, and it's teed in. But the problem with the right headlight turned out to be just a sketchy connection at the aftermarket El Cheapo plug. So I managed to tighten up the terminal, and I think the headlight's going to be fine. I can't remember if he said it had a problem with the plow light, but I don't have the plow on it, so I can't tell. But the headlights on the truck work fine now. Back to the Snap-on scanner, and I got it running at an idle, and I was watching the EGR, and I thought, well, why is that 1.12 volts at an idle? But it had commanded it on to 31%. So I'm going to take this thing for a road test and record the EGR. So it just came back from a road test, and at highway cruising speed you can feel a bit of a stumble, a misfire with the torque converter locked up. And this is Snap-on's version of the cylinder power balance. And this is the recording right here. So it's showing deviations on cylinder number 3. If you disable an injector, you can see that it drops significantly. One, 2, 7, 3. Well, it's not bad enough that I would worry about it right now. I wonder if I can save this recording. No, just a screenshot. Too bad. Snap-on's done a good job of this cylinder contribution test. Now I turned off number 3 injector and now it's back on again and it's dropping out significantly. I turned it off, turned it back on. Let's exit. And let's go back into the power balance again. Oh, that was nice. Okay. Well, the EGR code did return P0401. I thought it was 404. Isn't it 404? Yeah, it was 404. Now it's 401. Insufficient flow. Well, I'm sure that EGR cooler is plugged, or the intake manifold is partially plugged, judging by the amount of carbon on there. The check engine light didn't come on, but it might be a 2-trip fault. So the next time I drive it, or the next time the customer drives it, it might set a fault code. Let's go back in and look at that power balance again. I don't know why the software crashed, but I had to restart it. Mind you, I do have a lot of stuff running in the background. So cylinder 3 doesn't look too bad now. Let's disable it. Let's re-enable it. I think it's got an injector issue of starting to fail, but I think this is just a plow truck, so not that critical at this time, considering the amount of work involved in changing of one injector. So that's it for now. I know it's not completely fixed, but it's certainly better than it was.